Hi, and welcome to the You've Changed podcast. My name is Kate Barron. This is the podcast where I talk to very interesting people about changes, both big and small, they've made in their lives that have shaped their lives or altered them in some way. And today I'm speaking with the wonderful, talented, hilarious comedian, writer, presenter, podcaster, everything, Evelyn Mok.
Thank you, Kate. That's like, I realize now, every time I go on something and people introduce me, the list just gets longer and longer and longer.
That's amazing, though.
But I don't know if it is. Is it?
Yeah, with me, they're like, here's Karen Barrow or something. That's like literally, you know how many times I've been introduced as either Sarah Barron.
Sarah Barron.
I get Sarah Barron. And Sarah and I worked together for the first time at Vauxhall last weekend.
Really?
And we had never met each other. I had people coming to my Edinburgh show going, we didn't realize till you walked on stage, we bought tickets for the wrong Barron.
No.
Because we're both North American.
Yeah.
It's Sarah and Kate Barron. They're both spelled with 2 R's, which is more rare, right?
Yeah.
And so people just looked up Barron and then bought tickets. And then they're like, it was great. It was a good mistake. And I've been introduced as her on stage in clubs where they don't really know me. And they have me down as Sarah Barron. I'm like, it's Kate Barron. And then on stage they'll go, Sarah Barron. I'm like, and she has like way more credits than me and stuff. So I think getting introduced as you're getting introduced is a much better position to be in.
Thank you. I'll take it. And also, it's just like, that's wonderful though, because they've made a mistake, but also you are so good. So they've just like discovered somebody who's very, very good at comedy.
Thank you.
Which is really good.
But yeah, it was funny because it happened more than once in Edinburgh too. Like, it wasn't just like a one-time fluke. But they all told me afterwards, or maybe some of them didn't tell me, but they came up to me afterwards and like, it was great. We're so happy we saw you. We're gonna get tickets to Sarah's show now, but we're really happy we saw you. And I was like, oh my God, like that's where I'm at in my level of success.
Yeah.
They don't know my name yet. Yeah. People don't know my name.
That's funny. I think people don't know my face because I'm Asian, so they'll mistake my face for other Asian people. But my
God,
name
does that
is
actually for real happen?
I mean, it's happened like, do you know Quan Wen?
No.
Quan Wen Huang? He's a Taiwanese comedian. He's
based in London?
Based in London. He used to be based in Berlin.
Okay.
And he's a lovely gay man.
Yeah.
And so I did a show in Berlin like years ago. And then they were like, oh, Quan Wen's going to be on the same bill. You have to meet each other, blah, blah, basically because we're Asian.
Yeah. You guys will love each other.
Exactly.
Notice anything in common?
Exactly. Well, the thing was, when I get there, he comes up to me and he's like, oh my God, I've been mistaken for you like twice tonight. And before I'd even got there, they were like, are you Evelyn? And I'm like,
what?
This is very funny. And then we took a photo because
I need to see this photo after.
I'll show you the photo.
Yeah.
Because basically we had the same haircut. And so we just looked like two lesbian women. And so I was like, yeah, I see how you could mistake us for each other.
Oh my God.
It's really, really great. Yeah.
Maybe I've worked with them, but I'm really bad with names.
Yeah.
And also actually faces. Like, I'm so bad. Last night I was at the club and I was like, oh, hey, nice to meet you. And he goes, we've worked together before. And I was like, ooh. But as soon as he went on stage and he started doing his set, I go, I know this comic. Yeah. I remember the material, or if we have conversations.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm like, I can't remember this comic's name, but I know he's got like a wife, he's got kids, he's done this. And I know a bunch of his set.
Yeah.
But I have a really bad thing with like names and faces. I swear, I think it's my like ADHD that I can't like focus, and I have to meet somebody so many times for me to like get it through my head.
I think that's a bigger compliment if you remember their set rather than like their name.
Isn't that a better thing to remember? Yeah. But then it's embarrassing because I'm always like, oh, hi, nice to meet you. So now I always just say, good to see you. Or I'm like, hey, man, how's it going? Or hey, love, hey, girl. And then people are like, like they don't, I try to gloss over it or do
and
like
also you make them feel more like you're more connected because you're like, oh, we're at love level? Okay. We're at like.
Or they go, this girl's unhinged.
Yeah, exactly.
I met her one time and she's trying to tongue kiss me and call me love.
Amazing. I love that.
How are you generally? Like, you haven't been in London in forever.
I haven't. I've, basically I go back and forth. So it's very, I never know when I'm here. People never know when I'm here.
Based still in like Stockholm.
I'm based in
Gothenburg.
Gothenburg. At the moment, yeah. Well, it's interesting because it's like I'm gonna come here now. I'm coming back next week, and then I'm coming back like 2 weeks after that.
So you're just like, constantly flying back and forth.
I'm flying back and forth.
Do you have a flat here that you're staying in?
No. Well, yes, sort of.
Like a friend's place that you kind of crash?
Yeah. And pay for. I'm gonna pay. I'm gonna pay you guys.
That's good though. That's not. That's good though. You have somewhere like reliable, even if you pay to contribute. I think that's nice. But you have somewhere you can come back to that's like safe. And can you leave stuff there? So it's
they said I could.
Yeah, because like toiletries and shit like that. Like you don't want to be schlepping that stuff back and forth.
That's like a nightmare when you go through security.
Exactly. I was talking to Vittorio. I had him on like my second episode. And we were saying, we went through security, but I always do check bags because I'm a notorious overpacker. And I had way too much. And I was basically told the security guard, because he pulled it over to search it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's going to explode when you open it. And he's like, you can't say that. And I was like, I'm so sorry. Such a fucking idiot.
I get it. Even if it's an expression.
Even if
you're at the airport.
Yeah.
It could be a real bomb.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I've gotten better at not overpacking.
Yeah.
Because I used to overpack a lot. And now I'm like, okay, I can do outfits 2 times in a row.
Yeah.
I can do like underwear. I tend to overpack.
Underwear, I plan to shit my pants 5 times a day.
Exactly.
And I have to pack like a million pairs. But my thing, and this is why I think I'm still an overpacker, because I used to be a lot bigger, right? And my biggest fear would be arriving to a destination, having my bags lost. So I would always have a check bag and a carry-on. In the carry-on, I'd have 2 days worth of outfits that I could wear just in case my bag went missing. Because if I landed somewhere, the reality of me being able to actually find clothes that I could fit and weren't awful would be very slim. And so for me, I think that's why I'm still a bit of an overpacker.
Yeah. And that's true for me too. I overpack underwear and stuff. And that because I'm like, I know that I can't just walk in somewhere. Or I used to be bigger too. And that's probably what we're going to talk about, because that's the change. Spoiler, guys.
Spoiler.
But that's the change. But so I used to also be like, oh, okay, I need my stuff because I won't be able to just walk in somewhere and
that's
get it.
That's just the reality though. They, who was it? It was like BuzzFeed or someone like that, or I don't know, one of those like online. They did like a whole series of like a plus size girl traveling around the world with nothing in her bag. So she would have to see, could she live there for 3 days or whatever on a little mini trip without anything, and find a couple of outfits and go shopping. And the places she would go to, or she'd be like, okay, we kind of have to make this work, or like, but they were like, oh, this sort of work, but I'm like, girl, you're in like a moo-moo. Like, you're just found like a shitty moo-moo. And I'm like, if I went somewhere and did comedy, I couldn't be like, here's me in a moo-moo. Just rock. I mean, I could, but that'd be such
your
like
thing.
A shtick.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I'd go fucking viral, and that would have to be my thing.
Exactly.
The worst.
Like, I mean, lucky and the unlucky.
Yeah.
But I think, you know what? I think supermarkets is like, they would have sizes that would fit bigger people.
Yeah.
And I think that's like a loophole, but it's like, it's not clothes you want to wear.
But exactly. Or like those kind of bigger chain things. That's why the whole like, I don't even want to get into the whole fast fashion or whatever, because I'm like, fast fashion, like the whole, firstly, the idea of being like, oh, buy really, a few number of high quality pieces that are sustainable.
I know.
So like,
I know.
Firstly, you need tons of money to do that. That shit is so expensive. It is so hard to access that. And then a lot of people just they can't afford it, but a lot of people can't fit it.
Yes.
And you have to buy fast fashion, because most of the shit that like fits me, when I moved over here, it was ASOS, Boohoo, Pretty Little Thing, Curve. Like, there's only a handful of places that have stuff you want to wear.
Yeah.
And you just tough shit. Like, you just have to do that. Don't have a hope going into Zara. Zara still gives me fucking panic attacks. I can fit a purse, and barely that.
I mean, I buy scarves at places like that.
Girl.
Like Mango and Zara. I'm like, oh, this scarf is nice.
Yeah. But that's the fucking, that is the fat girl tricking ourselves into going, I love accessories.
I belong.
Love accessories here.
Funny.
Literally what happens all the fucking time. You go, oh my God. And all your friends are like, why are you only looking at like purses and shoes and shit? You're like, oh my God, that's like my total thing. Like, I'll just wear a black like paper bag oversized. Like, that's my jam.
It's so, I literally had that conversation with a friend, and it's like every time I see people who post about sustainable fashion, I'm like, they're always very, very thin.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But that's like anyone who's like, money doesn't matter, you guys. It's experiences. And so to have experiences, I travel around the world on a jet. And I'm like, it takes money to do that, dum-dum.
Exactly.
Like, people are just they don't get the nuance of it. They just don't get that it's just not that easy.
No, and also it's like they found their thing that they can kind of get
Preach
big on
about.
social media on. Yeah. They found their like, what's it called? Their soapbox.
Yeah, fuck. I mean, that is what social media is like all about. And then meanwhile, I'm like, dick jokes galore. I had my first,
I love it.
well, not my first, but like a hate comment yesterday on a little YouTube short video I put up, and he said, this is Amy Schumer levels of unfunny. And I was like, successful Amy Schumer with multiple blockbuster movies and like 5 Netflix specials, I will take it.
Exactly. And also, like, that is a generic comment. I mean, if you're going to hate comment, be original.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Yeah,
that's like,
it's just,
yeah.
But I mean, that's usually the old comments I used to get be like, ugh. What a fat, ugly bitch.
Yeah, that's
So I'm moving
true.
up in the world. At least I'm getting compared to like skinny celebrities now or like thinner
Exactly.
celebrities. People before used to be like, you're like an unfunny Melissa McCarthy. I'm like, well, she doesn't even do stand-up, so love that energy.
Melissa McCarthy.
That's always the comparisons I used to get. We're like, oh, you're kind of like Rebel Wilson or Melissa McCarthy or like a Roseanne vibe. I'm like, so a fat white woman.
I would get Margaret Cho.
Of course.
I would get Margaret Cho.
Like,
yeah.
like it's just so fucking, just such a stupid, easy, whatever.
Yeah.
You know.
Even now with Ali Wong, I still get Margaret Cho. So
Even still with Ali Wong. Have you seen her new special? I haven't seen it yet.
I haven't seen it yet.
No, I do want to. Are you a fan of hers?
Yes, but she's not pregnant in this one, so I'm not interested. No. I do.
Yeah,
I really
her
like
shtick is gone.
Yeah,
She talks
exactly.
about her divorce from her husband.
Wait, she divorced?
They got to remember the whole thing was like her husband went to Harvard and he became a
Yeah.
doctor and all this stuff, and she'd
Yeah.
make all these jokes about how now she makes way more money than him,
Yeah.
whatever. Apparently, it's quite telling. Because she has a book, she has $2.
Yeah.
Apparently, in her book, it was quite tell-all-y. And then her stand-up special like is about it too. So I'm very interested to see. Yeah, their marriage completely fell apart after she got big.
It's interesting. I've talked to a dude about this, and he was very vulnerable with me about it, where he was saying like he would feel emasculated
Yeah.
if that was the situation. And I'm like, I totally understand that. At the same time, it's so interesting how we're still bounded by these like social constructs of masculinity and femininity. Of course, some of it is biological, of course, and you never mean to do anybody down, but it's so interesting that.
And I think, but here's the thing, and this is what I love so much about like my boyfriend is not like this at all. Like he's very much like I love being like, and this is so like woo woo, about like being in like my feminine energy, like with him.
Yeah.
But it is not about like money or power or whatever. It's just
No.
like I definitely feel like safe and protected and all of that with him. But it's not a financial thing.
No.
It's like a provider-y, take care in a different way.
Yes,
It's not always. I think men, when they say provider, they think financial.
Yeah.
I'm writing this whole new bit about it because men are like, I'm a provider, I'm this, I'm that. And then they're the same ones who like on a fucking subway or a tube or whatever, there's a fucking old lady that gets on and they just go like, and they pretend to sleep. They're the ones pretending to sleep. They're like, I'm a provider. Provide your seat, man.
Yeah.
Why don't you provide your seat? How about you start there? And then in the same breath, they'll turn around and go, I don't want a gold digger. I don't want a gold digger. And you're like, what do you want then?
Exactly. What do you want?
You want to provide but don't want to pay. You're all of a sudden a feminist when the bill comes.
Yeah.
But then everywhere else, you're like, I'm the man. I'm like, bro, good. Be the man. Pay my way. Love that.
Redefine what man means to you, basically.
Exactly. But that's why I like, just a modern man who can be like, what a provider, what that masculine energy is. It means so much more than financial.
Oh, it does. It does. I feel someone who can make me feel, as you say, safe. But also, it's that thing of like, okay, I know that I can fall apart with you.
Yeah.
And you'll be fine, and you can do the same with me.
I mean, no, I'm just kidding. Don't look like a pussy though. But
I was just listening to all of the people. I was listening to Jordan Peterson on Joe Rogan.
Oh my God, double whammy. And then what, you had an Andrew Tate poster behind you and you're like fucking jerking off to it?
Free Tate.
Are you this
Free
girl?
Tate.
Are you one of these girls that are going to try to be like a pick-me girl and be like, I rate them so much?
Is that what it is?
Yeah, if you listen to Andrew Tate, like this thing he says about pro-rape for women, that actually makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. Like it's so fucked. Anyway.
It's so interesting. No, but I'm kind of like getting into. Well, I'm doing a project about something, and one of the topics is like just masculinity, and I find it so interesting now because I think there's a reason that a lot of younger dudes are gravitating towards Jordan Peterson and Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
And it's because of what masculinity, it's changing the definition, but they are some kind of like, they are that anchor point of what it used to be.
Yeah.
Even though like everything around them is saying different now, but then they have this anchor point. But it's like, obviously the when you listen to anybody will have things that make sense, and anybody will have the issue becomes when you prescribe to just one. And
you're not using critical thinking to actually.
And you're not using critical thinking, exactly. So I was just like interested to listen and hear what it is he's saying and how he's saying it.
Yeah,
and
give me a nugget. Like, what's something interesting that you heard there that you were like, actually, that does make a lot of sense?
I mean, he's very good at, obviously he's a professor, so he's very good at describing, he's very good at making, as anybody who works with what he does, and anybody on social media nowadays.
Yeah. Everyone's very curated.
Everyone's very curated, and I would almost argue that Jordan Peterson is kind of the equivalent of like Jay Shetty or, like
Yeah.
What's it called? These kind of like attachment theory TikTokers or Instagrammers are for women.
Yeah.
Or astrology even.
Yeah, of course. I totally agree.
Yeah, and
I think people are just looking for something. They're going, my life is hard right now.
Yeah.
I'm having difficulty dating, finding a whatever, or with career. And so they look to someone who goes, this isn't your fault, but I'll teach you how to turn it around. And they want to believe it. It's like the same reason people go to religion and faith, right?
Yeah.
Because they need something out there that they need to cling on to and believe in, that it's going to get better. Yeah. And for these guys, they're shouting the loudest and they're constantly there. So it's an easy one to grasp onto.
Yeah. And also he's offering a way of making the world understandable to people. And so that was kind of what I've only listened to like, I think half an hour or something, but he started out with just explaining how power dynamics work and how men and women work, in attraction and all of that stuff. And I was like, yeah, this is really interesting. And I can see how this is very appealing.
Yeah.
And also it shapes the world for you. It makes it explainable. It makes it understandable. And I can see how a young man would like this version of the world because it makes it understandable to him as to how he is, like his role in the whole thing, kind of, and also masculinity in that way. But I haven't listened to a lot of it yet, and I don't know really what it means yet, but it is interesting. And I think we're very quick to dismiss, like with anything that's on social media, we're very quick to dismiss a whole group of people.
Yeah.
And not have conversations.
Yeah. I totally agree. And people just go, this is the way.
Yeah.
And that's happening right now a lot with like the trans community and like cis women, I find. And right now there seems to be all these like harsh lines being divided of going, this is 100% right. And I think it's just, and I fucking use this word all the time, but it is more nuanced than that. Like it's just not like, it's not this finite line down the middle of if you're not on this side, you're wrong.
Yeah.
And vice versa. And it's just like you can believe some things and then kind of be more in the middle for the other or whatever. And it's just people are more complex than social media makes it out to be.
Absolutely.
And it's not so simple.
Yeah.
And that's just, it fucking frustrates me to no end.
Oh, definitely. And the point is, I think we need to just start having conversations, but it's not as clickbaity, or it's not as because if you start having conversations with people who don't necessarily share your worldview, it will challenge you, and
it's a lot more confronting.
It's much more confronting, and you will, if you haven't, if you're not used to that, then it could easily just kind of break your spirit a little, I think.
Yeah, but that's why you need to be open to change.
Very good. Very good
segue, right?
Hosting, yeah.
But like it is true. Like you need to be like, I think it's a huge compliment if somebody, or like to me, I want my mind to be changed or my views to be changed if I'm in the wrong. Do you know what I mean? I want to evolve as a person. I grow up, I mature, I experience more, I can evolve. I want to be more open to opinions and other people's ideas, and you should be, and you should embrace that. But it is confronting, it is hard, and it's not always easy, that path.
Yeah. Definitely. And are we talking about, because the thing is,
let's talk about change.
Let's talk about change.
Into it. Let's get into your change.
Because that's why I like talking to you, because we've had a similar journey. Well, maybe not similar journey, but somehow emotionally we've had quite a similar journey when it's come to weight loss.
Yeah.
And I don't know, did we do it during the similar time frame?
Yeah,
like
we did.
Yeah.
We sort of did, because like during pandemic-y, in the last handful of few years. So we have done it at the same time, and we've had conversations about it, and it was just like, it's nice because we just related so easily on that, and the weight thing, and being comedians, and being sort of more in like the public eye, and all of those kind of things. And it's just been, and growing up with weight issues, and it's always been a thing, right? Like it's so,
and how like intrinsic it was to her family structure and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So basically, I guess my topic of change is that I lost weight. So actually, it starts with I've always been overweight ever since I was a kid. So I've grown up as an overweight Asian girl. And this was like a big thing because in Asian culture, it's like they're very blunt. I think people have probably heard how blunt Asian people are, but when it comes to
because
like,
I've told you, my ex, he was half Chinese,
Oh,
half
that's
Filipino,
right. Yeah.
and his like he was close with the Chinese side of his family, and they would just fucking annihilate. I was like mean girl bullied at their house when I would go there for like Chinese New Year. We go for a family dinner or something, and I'm like,
I love it.
I have to be like, okay, so culturally it's different. It's okay for them to grab my. I literally had someone at a Chinese restaurant once come up to me, grab my stomach, and be like, "Happy," and I was like, "No,
Kate.
that didn't make me very happy."
Oh my God, I feel for you.
I was dying.
I feel for you.
I
Wow.
was dying, and they'd just be like,
That
"You're just very big."
Yeah,
and I'm like, but I know it's not them being like trying to shade me. Well, sort of.
Well, I mean, it is.
It is.
It is. It's really mean. And yes, it is kind of Chinese people operate on shame. Yeah. It's, I mean, it might be effective. It might have been effective, but it doesn't work on us diaspora kids because we've grown up with like American individualization and feelings and stuff. So we're like, no, please don't do that. But it's such an effective tool in Asia. But yeah, so basically, like Chinese people are super blunt about your weight, and they'll just come up and tell you like factually.
Yeah.
They'll just be like, "Oh, you've gained weight. You should like stop."
So,
And I'm like, yeah, okay. Like every time I go back to like Hong Kong, I'll just have like two aunts walking behind me talking about me while I'm there, and I'm walking, and they'll just be like, "Oh yeah, she's, she's gained weight, but like the food is different in Europe. It's a lot more fatty, it's a lot more carbs, so she eats differently. But yeah, she has gained weight. She's always been big." And it's like I'm like, I can hear you. And I'm just walking with a soundtrack of them.
Oh my God, they're just narrating your life.
Yeah. Just my looks. And it's just like, so it's such a, so it was like a thing. I was like the fat girl in my family and all that stuff. And then
was your family bigger too? Or no, you were the bigger one in your family? Because my whole family's big.
I was the bigger one in my family. But my parents were like, like just kind of like weight gain with age.
Yeah.
Sort of
thing. Like a
thing.
typical,
Yeah. But it's interesting because they're obsessed with looks, especially when it comes to women. So, and I think it's partly Chinese culture, but your looks are very much equated to your worth, and being a woman and like your worth is like, oh, you're gonna be a wife someday, so you need to be attractive. And so, like, I've had family members say like to me, I've had like family members who've said, things are always nicer in a small package. Like small packages have the best presents.
I know there's a dick joke here that's a really insensitive dick joke that I want to make. Always nicer in small packages. That just seems like someone is going to present you a micro penis and be like, "This is your husband." Oh my God.
This is your husband. I'm not going to make the...
It is seriously, but that is like for real what it would be like. They'd be like, women are better smaller. Don't make a dick joke. We can't help that. And
exactly. And that is, and I had an aunt who said, I think I was 18 or 19. And my aunt, one of them suggested for me to get a bariatric surgery.
Yeah.
But I think I was like maybe 80 kilos or something. So, and now I'm 90 now. Mm-hmm. So it's like I was chubby, but I wasn't at a stage where I would need
or that a doctor would probably be like, this is an unnecessary surgery. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. So it was just like, oh, you don't understand anything.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, you're not coming from a place of concern. You're coming from a place of...
It's all aesthetics.
Aesthetics, exactly.
Because people don't actually, and we've talked about this, like people don't actually care about the health of fat people. The majority is they go, I care about your health. You don't.
Yeah.
You don't care about their mental health. Like you'll bully the shit out of them. You're not asking questions and going like, how are you overall? Is there something, like for me, my mental health was a huge factor and my trauma and stuff in my weight gain.
Yeah.
And why I was so big. But did anyone ask that? No. They just were like, I care about your health. Get your fat ass to a gym, you cow. And then you go to the gym and then everyone stares at you, takes videos of you. No workout clothes are made for you. Like, there's they don't actually fucking care. That's an excuse and it's bullshit.
It is, yeah. And it's such a, it's just like, it makes me so sad and very angry because it's like, people have found such a great way of just like pushing fat people into the corner.
Yeah.
Or just like that.
And it's still socially accepted. Like it's
Yes,
sort of the
still
last
socially
frontier of like, that's the last group we can go, you're gross,
Yeah.
because we can all agree that it's their fault that they're gross.
Exactly.
And everyone sort of agrees that that's fine to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, and the thing is, like, that's what I had to focus on, because so basically grown up, I was always overweight. And then when I was 24, I moved to London.
Mm-hmm.
Had a very terrible, I was in an emotionally abusive friendship. I had my first kind of like romantic relationship thing that ended very badly and traumatically. And so from that, I kind of sunk into a depression.
Yeah.
And in that depression, like, food became my coping mechanism.
Yeah.
And I gained about 25 kilograms of weight, putting me at like 112 kilos, I would say. And then I was kind of stuck in that depression and in that weight for like a decade.
Yeah.
And it was very, very bad. And I was just stuck in a loop. And the thing is, like, at the same time I was in London, it was during my whole time in London, basically.
Yeah.
And all of this stuff, all of the events that kind of put me in this place was very closely associated to stand-up.
Yeah.
So I was still doing stand-up. Not
Triggering
really.
in and of itself, probably.
Oh, so triggering.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be seen, but I was still doing stand-up. So it was like I was in this like incredible, I'd put myself in some kind of like, not myself, but I just ended up in some kind of very strange Twilight Zone situation.
Yeah.
That was so paradoxical, but just like I wasn't able to find my way out of the hole, basically. And so it was just like me, I was still doing stand-up. I wasn't doing it, like, I was doing fine, maybe, but also I would have moments where I would be on stage and I didn't want people to see me.
Totally.
Like, I didn't want
fucking
to
relate
be
to
seen.
that. I totally relate to that.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Because it's this thing of like,
That's what stopped me from doing stand-up for years. I started
Yeah.
stand-up. I wanted to do it since I was a kid, and I didn't
Yeah.
start it till I was in my 30s
Yeah.
because I was so afraid of people looking at me.
Yeah.
And them just thinking, why am I listening to this fat bitch?
Yeah.
Why would I listen to
Yeah.
this disgusting person
Yeah.
on stage and pay attention to her? Because I didn't want people to see me. I wanted to say stuff and I wanted people to laugh, but I wanted it like to be Wizard of Oz and have like the don't look behind the curtain kind of vibe.
Exactly. And that's the thing, I think, because now afterward, like I've done a lot of so I'll just see I'll try to make this as chronological for people, but in the thing of because I didn't want to, in the thing of not wanting to be seen, after now doing all of the emotional work and figuring out my reasons and all of that stuff, like, because for me at least, the weight that I'd put on, that just became the manifestation of the pain
Yeah.
that I was trying to
Yeah.
numb, or that I carried. And so if I walked on stage, everybody would see all of this weight. They would see my pain automatically. And that's what I didn't want people to see.
Yeah.
I didn't want them to see
It
my
is like wearing your fucking trauma on the outside
Yeah, yeah.
and everyone can see
And the
it.
shame
and
of it and
And the
all of that
shame of
stuff.
it. Can I ask you a question? I'm going to interrupt you. Have you seen the movie The Whale?
I haven't yet.
Do you want to see it?
I really want to see it, yeah.
It's really fucking hard to watch.
I can imagine, because
It
I
was
think I'm going to relate a lot.
I was the most
Yeah.
confronting thing I think I've ever seen.
Oh, really?
And I was like, I couldn't even talk to people after I saw it. I needed like processing time.
Wow.
Like it was a lot. I'm really interested to know what you think of it after you see it.
Yeah, I would love to. I'll watch it, and then I would love
Yeah.
to talk to you about it, because that's the thing. Like, I love talking to you, or I find that you're one of the few people I can talk to about this, because when it comes to this stuff, there's so much internal weight. There's so much internal work actually that goes into
Yeah.
getting comfortable with your body and all of that stuff, but also with your weight, because it's that thing of, basically, I was depressed for about 10 years. I was probably at my lowest point in 2019, 2018, 2020 even.
Oh my God,
When I started to
twinsies.
go out of it. Yeah.
Both at our peak depression in 2020.
Exactly. Weight related.
Yeah.
And so when you reach that bottom, and we've talked about it, it's like it was kind of this thing of I was like, I felt spiritually dead
Yeah.
inside.
Yeah.
I felt like I had basically agreed with myself that I was dead.
Yeah.
And I was just a body walking around and nothing was going to happen for me. Like, this is it. I've reached, this is it. Nothing's going to happen
Like you're
now.
trapped in your own body and you just can't see a way out.
In my own situation. Yeah, I couldn't see a way out. And also like I hadn't even started to process the anger that I'd felt.
Yeah.
Because I felt like I had been put here against my will. But really it was like I had experienced trauma that I couldn't handle at the time.
Yeah.
And then I'd fallen into this hole. And I felt like the world moved on. I felt like everybody else moved on. And I was just here. And I was like, okay, well, now I'm dead. I am actually dead.
Yeah.
And this is where I am. And so in my mind, I just like, but obviously a living person, if that is what happens, either you have to end it, or you cannot stay there as a living being. And I think that essentially is kind of what happened. I found myself it's so weird and also it's interesting because you can't really talk to everybody about this.
No.
It's only with another person who's maybe gone through something.
Because they'll just go, well, just lose the weight.
Yeah.
Just change it. Just snap out of it. Like I heard the best thing the other day and somebody said I think it was on Jay Shetty's podcast actually.
Oh, really?
Someone he was interviewing and they said the whole thing about weight loss.
Yeah.
It is so simple, but it's not easy.
No.
And I'm like, that is it. Like,
exactly.
It is in theory simple.
Yeah.
You know, unless you have like hormonal issues. There's all, it's not so simple, but it is arguably simple.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
but it's
because
just not fucking easy. It is so much more complex.
Oh, yeah. Because we all know what we need to do.
Yeah.
Calorie deficit.
Yeah.
Work out more.
That's it.
That's fine. But the thing is, every pound that I shed is another layer of armor that I'm taking off.
Yeah.
And I need to be, because that's what I realized. It's like, I was at my lowest point. I was shooting a TV show in Finland, of all places. It was a Swedish TV show. And I was in the hotel room and I was just crying. Like I was crying, but you know, that not regular crying. It was like grieving.
Yeah.
I was grieving. I was crying so hard, and it was maybe like a month or two, this period. And I would be crying every night. And I was like, this is different. Why? And I realized I was grieving myself because I had decided that I was dead. I was grieving the life that I thought I would have. And I was grieving the fact that I'd maybe given up. And I was just grieving. I was grieving myself. And so in that moment, I realized, okay, well, if it's affecting me this much, it means that I must want to change my situation, because I must want to not be here because I'm feeling all of these feelings.
So it was more like a rock bottom instead of a place of giving up.
Exactly.
Did you, you don't need to answer this. This is very personal. Was there moments where you were like, I'm done? Like, I want to end it?
Not physically,
yeah,
but definitely spiritually, because I probably wouldn't have the guts to do it, if I'm honest.
Yeah. Continuing to disappoint your Chinese ancestor.
Exactly.
Doesn't even have the balls to offer stuff.
It would have been very easy in those times. But I think it just wasn't, because I've heard this quote. There's a Swedish author called Anne Herbelin, who wrote a book, and it's about her bipolar, I think. And the title is, I don't want to die, but I don't want to live anymore. That's how I felt. Yeah.
Yes. Oh my God. That is literally how I felt going into my surgery.
Yeah.
Was like, I no longer wanted to live as I was.
Yeah.
And I knew that doing the surgery, I really thought I was risking my life and I could die. But I just went, I'm willing to die to not have this life anymore.
Yeah.
And it's scary and crazy. I mean, that's what my whole Edinburgh show is about. Like me basically saying I was ready to die for it.
Yeah.
Does your family know how dark it got for you?
No. They don't know.
I'll send them this podcast.
Send them this podcast. Teach them how to download Spotify. Teach them what a podcast is. Teach them how to search your name, and then
Yeah.
No, but it's exactly that. It's like I didn't want to continue on living the life that I had, or the non-life that I had.
Yeah,
as
the
you say.
non-life.
The non-life.
Yeah.
And then it becomes almost like, this is so abstract, and I know it may sound corny to people who haven't gone through, I don't know what it is, like, but it's almost like a rebirth in a way.
No, it is.
Yeah.
It is. I think anyone who's experienced some sort of like pinnacle change, like
Yeah.
it is, you can't explain how it feels to someone. I feel like I'm a new person. Like I have a new outlook, and I don't know how I got to that rock bottom place. That same with you when you were grieving and you're just like ready to give it all up. But I think you had this little bit of fight in you, and you're just like, it's kind of like you're just going one more day, and I can just do a little bit more, and then all of a sudden it starts to slowly get easier.
Yeah.
And you come out of it. I mean, it's not fucking easy, but
it's not easy, and you have to face yourself, because as much as it is realizing like what happened to you and realizing how you got there, you have to face your role in it and your responsibility in it. And I think a lot of people, that's one of the hardest things to do, to face yourself and how you've let yourself down.
Yeah. Because for me, it was blaming my family a lot. I used to blame, like, my family had really bad nutrition growing up. We didn't know. Exercise wasn't encouraged. Like, exercise was seen as punishment for the food you ate, not just to be healthy, right? And my mom was on always these crash diets. I was on, like, Weight Watchers when I was, like, 11. Like, I have done, like, a million things. Like, I've done so much. My mom used to do, like, hypnosis for it. She used to do Weight Watchers, Jenny Craig, like, anything you can think of that someone has done to try to lose weight, my mom tried, and we tried as a result of it as well.
Yeah.
There's always crash diets, and I always blame growing up in that household. But then at some point, I've lived out of my house as long as I've lived in it, and this is no one's fault. Like, I'm an adult making my own decisions, and you need to take accountability for that. Like, yes, it breaks my fucking heart when I see overweight children, because I'm just going, you're setting them up so badly, and it fucking kills me because I know what it's like to be that fat kid.
Yeah.
But, like, you have to take the accountability, and that is fucking hard to do.
Oh, that's the thing. But then it's so empowering as well.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I'm like, wow, okay. If I accept responsibility, that means that I have the power to change.
Yeah.
Like, I have the power to change my situation.
If you can make the bad choices, you can make the good choices too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's the tricky part, to talk to. I think it's like everybody who has some kind of like, who's lived in a bigger body and stuff. But I think it's that thing of, because it's seldom that your weight is without emotional attachment.
Yeah.
Seldom.
Yeah.
And I mean, in cases that it is, I think
this is the society that we live in, right?
Yes,
we're a materialistic, visual society. Everyone judges everyone based on how they see them.
Yeah.
It's fucked up. It's ableist. It's all of these things, but it is the reality that we're living in.
Yeah.
And people are trying to change it, which is amazing.
Yeah.
But it is the reality.
Exactly. It is the reality. And you get blamed for a lot of things. Like what you said about children. Like, I saw this documentary, do you remember like Jared, the subway guy?
Yeah, yeah. Who molested the kid?
Oh, yeah. That turned
You're
out
watching
later.
some really good things. Joe Rogan, the Jared documentary,
exactly.
Andrew Tate, Jordan Peterson.
Oh my God.
Love it.
I
would love to see your Netflix recommendations and how that's going. All the algorithm is figuring you out. Or your whole TikTok page, your For You is just all fucked up. Like, women are awful. And you're like, goo.
They're like, so it's a like young lefty woman they're in a relationship with like a right-wing troll guy.
Yeah.
No, but it's like, I saw this, like, it was this little snippet of the Jared Subway Guy documentary where there was a mom. She was quite overweight, and then she had a child. The kid couldn't have been more than 11 or 12, and the daughter was overweight as well. And then they go for a meet and greet after he's talked at some mall, and he has a book or something. She's holding the book, the kid, and the mom goes up, and you can see how the mom is pushing the kid forward, and wants the kid to get the book signed, and she says to Jared in front of the kid, she's like, "Yeah, you're such an inspiration. It's so good to see you do this, and hopefully your journey will inspire her journey." And I was like, I have been that kid.
Yeah.
I have seen, like it was the most demoralizing thing to ever see, because I'm like, it's not your fault.
And
It's
that
not your
will be
fault to the
so
kid.
imprinted in that kid's brain
Yeah.
as one of those, like, there's just core memories.
Yeah.
And that'll be one of those moments where they go, I remember being humiliated for my weight in front of with my mom and all these strangers around.
Yeah.
And that being like a thing. And
On camera.
On camera.
Yeah.
So fucked.
Yeah. And it's just like, that's essentially what happens to you when you're, at least when you grew up, like 90s, we're 90s, naughties babies.
Yeah.
And it's just like this thing of, because for me, I had to, first of all, face myself in my situation, and then also realize my kind of choices in it, all of it, and realize, like, forgive my kind of like, realize how I ended up where I was, understand that, yes, bad things happened to me I was around bad people, or people who just weren't considerate, basically. And I had to kind of forgive myself for how I was, or for feeling like I had let myself be duped by them in a way. It's a lot of like these things of like managing your own relationship with yourself, but also the forgiveness part. Not necessarily, people always say you have to forgive people, blah, blah. I'm like, nah, I don't need to forgive people. I need to forgive myself and the anger that I carried toward myself in that situation.
Because that is so poisonous. Like, it
is. Yeah. It really is. And then in that, also realize face the core issues of what my weight actually represented for me, and understand that the emotional attachment with the weight, because in my case the weight was just an armor to protect myself.
Do you feel more vulnerable now?
I feel yes, I feel stronger now. I feel more vulnerable in the fact that it was a long time where I couldn't express joy, or I couldn't be silly, where I couldn't be like, because I felt too vulnerable, because that was how I was when I got hurt. And I realized
that's sad.
It's really sad. And so I spent such a long time not letting anybody in. And I think I still I'm very much on my guard. So it takes a little time to get in, I guess. But it's worth it if you want to try. I don't know what I'm inviting people to do there. But
Finding your DMs.
Yeah, exactly. But I think kind of the core of it is, one thing was, as I was losing the weight, because now I'm back at around 90 kilos, which was what I was when I moved to London.
Yeah.
And this is how interesting I find it. But I realized when I got to about 95 kilos, I realized that suddenly I kind of stopped, and I stalled for like maybe 8 months.
Yeah.
And I didn't know why. And then I figured out, I was like, oh, fuck. I am so close to 90 kilos, which was very symbolic, because that's the weight I was before I slipped into the depression. And I didn't want to get back down there, because that's the weight I was when I got hurt. Like, that's the weight I was when all of this bad stuff happened. So muscle memory just said, hey, don't go back there, because you'll be hurt again. Like, you'll be put through public humiliation again. You'll be put through this incredible bad thing that happened to you. That'll just happen to you again. And so when I realized that, I was like, okay, well, that's what we're going to work on then. And then just kind of working on that, being conscious of that.
Yeah.
Like a month later, I was back down to 90.
That's amazing.
So it's just like, it's such an interesting thing of for me personally, at least, for what my weight represented.
Yeah.
And what, and why I made the choices that I make, why my relationship with food was the way it was, where I used it as a coping mechanism. And I think that's kind of the key to facing yourself, and to go through a kind of pivotal change.
Has your family, what have they said about the change? Are they just like, oh, good, you're thinner again? Or do they...
They don't. So basically...
Or they just don't talk about it?
I asked my parents to stop commenting on my weight when I was in my 20s, I think, because it hurt me.
Mm.
And
Good
so
for
after
you for
that-
standing up to your parents and saying that.
yeah, it was a tough conversation.
Yeah.
And they're Chinese, so they didn't necessarily understand. But then I understand that they actually care because they don't really talk about it. But they have commented, like very subtly,
Yeah.
where my uncle asked me how much I lost. And I was like, oh, 23. And my dad was like, oh, that's good. And then my mom will say stuff like, basically my aunt said that I looked good in a dress, that I looked thin or something. And my mom would say that to me.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. And then my mom said this. I know we're running short of time, but
That's okay.
my
No,
mom-
I want to keep going. If we go over a bit, it's fine. I want to. This conversation's too good.
well, my mom said this. She did say it was a few months ago, and she was like, yeah, you've lost weight now. That's good. You're almost back at the weight you were in high school. And that's good because you looked very good in high school. You were very pretty in high school. And I was like...
Implying you're not... Yeah. There's so many implications in what they're saying. That's such a loaded statement.
It's such a loaded statement. But then I also, in my... Like, obviously for me, I was like... It was kind of a validation that I knew, like, that I subconsciously have wanted, I guess.
Yeah.
Because I felt some kind of pride. But then at the same time, I was like... If you had told me that in high school, that you thought that I was pretty, maybe you would have had a doctor now. Maybe you wouldn't have had a comedian who's seeking validation
no, we
on
need
stage.
you as a comedian.
No, it's like it's so.
I know
funny.
it
Yeah.
is. It's really fucked up with the family thing too, because
Yeah.
like I feel like my dad.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I've ever really said this out loud, other than to my therapist. I feel like my dad is prouder of my weight loss than he is of any accomplishment I've ever done in my life, and I still feel that to this day. He seems to be prouder of it and more. I can just tell. I can tell how he introduces me to people. I can tell.
Oh.
I can just tell. And my dad is, you know, I've heard him make comments about, he's not a small guy either. And like I said, my whole family's been bigger. I've been in the car with him and he's made comments about like bigger people and he's like poked fun and everything. And I was like, can you not?
Wow.
And I'm like, a girl who like basically looked like me at that size. And I was just like, and he just doesn't know how much that just fucking cut me.
Yeah.
And it just, yeah, but that's a whole other thing. Cause I was like, no, I love my dad. Like everything's all good, whatever. And my therapist was a bit like,
It's complicated.
it's complicated. Like to constantly have this father in your life who you see as like belittling bigger women
Yeah.
can really fuck with you. And as you become bigger, you see him being less and less
Yeah.
supportive or caring or loving or whatever to you. And then, you know, you start losing the weight and all of a sudden he's like really proud of you.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
really fucked up.
As if you've somehow regained some kind of value.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's, yeah. So that's, I mean, you know, work in progress.
But I want to, do you have a theory as to why you think he's proud? Or like, as
I
to
just
why
think his
that's
actions
proud?
and how he is, some
Yeah.
things that he says, I can just,
Or do you like that pride? Like, why do you think he's more prouder of
I think
that?
it's just very old school of like wanting to have thin, pretty daughters.
Oh, wow.
Wanting to have smaller, pretty daughters that you
Yeah.
can be like, yeah, this is my daughter, instead of going like, oh, this is my daughter. This is like fucking fat, because most people think fat people are like lazy, sloppy, unkempt, whatever. You know, there's a whole
Yeah.
thing of like, if you're bigger,
Yeah.
that's why big girls are so good at makeup and hair, because they go fucking so over the top, right?
Yeah,
big
yeah.
girls are, you want to know how to do your makeup? Go see a big girl. She will be fucking decked out, good to go, amazing makeup, snatched to the nines, like hair done, everything. Because you have to go 10 times harder to look the same. Because it's like, you see those like skinny girls in these little outfits and like, I'll just wear joggers, like rolled down with like Ugg boots and like a hoodie. And everyone's like, oh my God, model chic. And then you see a bigger girl do that. You're like, you sloppy bitch. And like you have to go so much harder on all of that, and I just think it was as simple as that. I don't think there's a lot deeper.
Yeah.
There's anything much deeper to it other than he wanted once thin, pretty daughters that he can go, this is my daughter, and be proud to introduce to someone.
It's so interesting that because I in my mind, like now, I mean, obviously, I've noticed how men react to me differently.
Oh, yeah, that can be a whole other podcast.
It's a whole other thing, and we'll do this very quickly. But it's like, yeah, it's just like, oh, I get more attention now. Okay, but at the same time, in my head, still, I'm like, oh, but I cannot believe that that someone would be interested in me genuinely.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, that's a lot of,
I
like,
cannot
are
believe
you
that.
worthy of love and all that? Do you still feel worthy and all that? And for me, like, it's, being in like a healthy, great relationship now, it's been really confronting to me because I felt like I was too damaged and too fucked up to love. And like, why would anyone? I always felt like anyone who'd be interested in me romantically when I was that size. There's something fucking wrong with them.
Exactly.
Because no one who's put together and got their shit together would be interested in someone who's so obviously a fucking mess, disaster, gross. And it is very confronting being in like a healthy, communicative relationship where someone challenges me to not think like that. And owns who I am and is like, it's a whole thing.
That's so fascinating because I think I'm about to enter that stage. And I don't even know how to do that. Not that I'm seeing anybody, but like.
No, I love that though. Just being in that space and like being able to. But it's hard. And everything. I love this. This is such a good chat. I do have one last question for you. So I like to ask everyone at the end. I mean, change is inevitable, and we're always evolving, and it's a great, beautiful, healthy thing. And you're fantastic and amazing and beautiful, whatever size you are. And that doesn't change the core of who you are. But what is something in your life that you hope never changes?
Oh, wow. Oh, that's a good question. Oh, Kate. That's surprising. That never changes. I think actually it's probably, I've realized actually, also like, because I've had a big change, not only with the weight loss, but like I've moved kind of back to Sweden. And I've just like reevaluated my life and kind of reevaluated what's important and all of that stuff. And I realized that one constant that I've always had are my friends. And I didn't understand that until I moved back to Sweden, because basically I chose to move from Sweden in my 20s and move away from them, really. And my hometown.
Same.
To pursue our dream, pursue my dream.
God, we're the same person.
I mean, oh my God. But yeah, so to pursue a career of some sort. And then I missed out on so many big life moments that they had. And they missed out on my stuff. And then over here, I thought I was in some kind of friendships. Like I thought that I had people, but I didn't. And then now that I go back, it's like, they're like, oh, hey. And also they are the ones who they've only reacted positively to my change, but they haven't changed in reaction to my change.
They're not treating you differently.
They're not treating
They're
you
just
differently.
100% support. Always in your corner.
Yes, exactly. And
the
they
real
haven't.
deal.
Exactly. Because as you know, like some people, as you go through a big change, some people will be weird.
Oh, yeah.
Some people can't take it.
Some people people thrive off trauma, right? And they want you to be kind of their friend who's down and out. And that makes them feel better because they can always look to you and be like, that's it. I mean, that people just like you being in that position. People knew me for a while as being like, I would go out, I would drink, I'd be sad. I'd be this sort of like hot mess party girl that would go out and be just like a disaster. People really liked me. And when I stopped being like, I'm not really going to go out as much, I'm not really going to drink, people are going, you're no fun, you're changed, like you're different now. And I'm like, that's where this title came from. I had a friend legitimately saying like, you've changed, you're different now. And I'm like, yeah, I have. Thank fucking God I did, because I was killing myself and you were watching me the whole time and like,
laughing.
It's not your responsibility. But like it's so fucked. I actually had a friend last week. She sent me a picture of my old self. And it was like, you know how like you have gross pictures of your friends, you send them, you go, oh, look how look what shit you look like the other day. And out of the blue, she just sends me this picture. She goes, look what I found. And it just looks gross. I look gross. I'm drunk in the photo. And it just took me back to like, and I'm like, and I just, what I would never have done before, I did. And I was like, what was the purpose of sending me that? What was the purpose? Because all it did was make me feel bad. Is it to laugh at how gross I looked? Because I feel gross and I feel bad. And looking back, I remember I'm taken right back into that place. Like, what was the purpose? I don't like that. Doesn't make me feel good. And they were just like, oh.
And not sorry, or I mean, maybe, but
I don't know. It's just what it is, right? And so you have to, and those kind of friendships, you sort of reevaluate and go.
Yeah, you do, and it very quickly you understand, because it's like you understand then what role you played, and
did they like that you never stood up for yourself?
Exactly. I mean, I've ended a professional relationship. I've had like a friendship over that too. So it's so interesting as you start to change. You see how the people around you react. And I always, and it just became such an eye opener, and I'm like, oh shit, this core group
Those
that
are the
have
people.
been, they've been in my life forever.
Yeah.
I know that they're gonna be in my life forever.
Yeah.
Like from kid to we're probably gonna die together. No, but something like, but then, and also I've been away, but it's like they don't hold that against me.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
just think that it's really nice that I'm back now.
Yeah. I
And
have
it's
friends
just
that.
like, yeah, and I'm like, I'm like, we haven't changed,
Yeah.
and they just give me they give me my space to explore, and then it's just, it sounds really corny, but it's like I think at a certain age you understand what matters, and
Yeah.
also in this industry we spend a lot of time, I think, in the beginning chasing this version of, you know, frivolity, or like of this version of success that we think is success, but then turns out to be very, very empty.
Well, and it'll always be out of reach, right? Because it will always not be enough.
Exactly. And we chase something that we think will be fulfilling in some way, unless you have your head on straight from the start. But and so I think it's just been a very eye-opening few years for me. And I've kind of hopefully been very grateful to see what actually kind of matters. Man, I sound very corny.
No, I love
honestly.
this. Honestly, this has been such a good
It's
chat. Thank
just
you
like-
so much for doing this.
Thank you for having
You're
me.
amazing. I have such a spot in my heart for you. I honestly
same.
do. I love you so
same.
much. What do you have anything? I mean, this won't come out for like I don't know how many weeks or whatever, a few weeks or whatever. But do you have anything? I mean, social media will tag you and everything. Evelyn Mok. Is there anything you want to plug? Any big cool projects? Your Jordan Peterson thing you're working on?
I'll be hosting a podcast with Jordan Peterson.
yeah, exactly.
No, I at Evelyn Mok on my Instagram
Yeah.
is where you can find me, and that'll be like I have some things that we're doing that is fun, but I don't know if we can talk about it yet. And
Okay,
it's
cool.
probably not going to be released yet, but yeah. So find me there, and you can. I do a lot of food updates as well,
Love that.
so I'll post about food and comedy
Those are the two best things.
and being Asian. Yeah.
And being Asian, you know all about that. Thank you so much. I love
Thank you,
you.
Kate.
Thanks everyone for listening. Bye.